Spread them apart so I can see your face. That sounds really weird. That was my Stuart Ross.
Okay. You did okay.
I did okay.
Here tonight, our launch of 2 new poetry books.
Yeah.
I Cut My Finger by Stuart Ross and Rental Van by Clint Burnham. So thanks to everybody for coming out. I'm Brian Kaufman. I'm with Anvil Press. And Anvil. We used to be right across the street for years and years and years. And just in this wedge building here, we started out in 1988. Down the hill near SkyTrain station. It's nice to do an event here at Pulp.
Hey guys, it's starting!
We're a very pleasant East Side publishing house. And so our first reader tonight is going to be Stuart Ross, our guest from Toronto. Let's have a big welcome for Stuart. Little introduction. Most of you probably know him, but in case you don't, Stuart is a fiction writer, poet, editor, and a creative writing instructor. He was born in Toronto's North End in 1959, grew up in the borough of North York, began writing at a very young age, and was first published at 16 by Books by Kids, which is now the fairly reasonably famous children's publisher Anvil Press. His book was called The Thing in Exile, which also contained work by teen writers Stephen Feldman and Mark Lava, who's here. Hey! Yay! Sure he remembers the book very well. And Stuart went on to self-publish dozens of books and chapbooks through his Proper Tales Press imprint, and his books began to emerge from larger literary publishing houses, and he has continued his Proper Tales project to the present. Numerous chapbooks and smaller books have been issued from Proper Tales Press. And Stuart's been active in the Toronto literary scene since the mid-70s. He's the co-founder with Nicholas Power of the Toronto Small Press Book Fair, an underground literary institution since 1987. This fair, the first of its kind in Canada, has inspired similar events in Vancouver, Ottawa, and Hamilton. His own magazines have included Mondo Hunkamuga, which is, I think, the first time I became familiar with Stuart Ross. I saw this magazine called Mondo Hunkamuga and thought, what the fuck? And it was great. Interesting, and lots of strange things there. Other magazines called, titles that he has done, Peter O'Toole, a magazine of one-line poems, Dwarf Puppets on Parade, a magazine of writing with restrictions, Who Torched Rancho Diablo, which is poetry and fiction, and his current project is Sid and Shirley, a magazine of Canadian and American poetry. Although primarily known as a poet, Ross has also published fiction and personal essays. His column, Hunkamuga, appeared in Toronto's Word magazine, and has now moved to my own magazine, Subterrane, which features Stuart's column in each and every issue. You can learn so much, I think, from an author by the titles they choose for their work. Like Farmer Gloomy's New Hybrid. Hey, Crumbling Balcony. The Inspiration Cha-Cha. Bunny Baby, the child with magnificent ears. Paralysis Beach. Captain Earmuff's Agenda. Father, the cowboys are ready to come down from the Alps. When electrical sockets walked like men. Bad Glamour. He counted his fingers, he counted his toes. Dusty Hats Vanish. Mr. Style, that's me. No, it's not me, it's actually Stuart. Please welcome Stuart Ross.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Brian, for that. I hadn't thought of putting all my titles together and realized how incredibly stupid they really all are. So, very excited. Thank you all for being here. Thanks so much. The title has a really stupid cover by a great cover artist named Gary Clements.
He's awesome.
He's just, yeah, he's amazing. Sediment. Like when Murray Nightingale brought a cow's heart to school in a big pickle jar. His dad owned a slaughterhouse and Murray was always bringing parts of cows to school. The heart was white, and the jar afloat with sediment. In Murray's speech about the invasion of Czechoslovakia, he said that as the tanks rolled through the streets, the Czechs lined the curbs with grins on their faces. Or was that Clifford Snyder, or Cy Stanway, or little Gary Weinberg? A few years later, Mr. Joshua had us spit into test tubes. I asked him about the sediment on the bottom. "That's mucus," said Mr. Joshua. Today I find I have fewer friends every 10 minutes. They flee my hideous crimes, and what they leave behind is that a better poet than me would insert a really good sediment metaphor right here. Or, more poignantly, here. Since that's poems about writing poems, I assume that a lot of you here are writers and have gone through this very experience I'm about to outline. It's called submission. I am going to sleep, and I'm praying that my poem will appear in Unhappy Potato Quarterly. Lord, let the editorial board of Unhappy Potato Quarterly choose my poem for inclusion in its delicate writerly pages. When I wake up in the morning, let the editorial board, oh Lord, let the editorial board of Unhappy Potato Quarterly be standing at the foot of my bed, looking fondly upon me, upon my tousled gray hair, holding my poem in their delicate writerly fingers. Let the editor emeritus of Unhappy Potato Quarterly say to me, as I lie beneath my threadbare covers where only moments ago I was sleeping my usual miserable, fitful sleep, "This poem, Stuart, this poem accompanied by a cover letter threatening suicide if you reject this poem, is a poem we will publish. It will waltz alongside the other poems we will publish only to keep your poem company, because we cannot issue an issue of Unhappy Potato Quarterly containing only one poem, even if it is the only poem deserving of publication." And I rise from my sheets, hover above my bed, equipped now with enough eyes to meet the eyes of every member of the Unhappy Potato Quarterly editorial board, including the intern, and then I realize that potatoes have eyes too, and now I have so many eyes, and they're all their eyes, including the eyes of the intern, and the eyes of the spider dangling from my ceiling, having just laid 1,000 eggs beneath the flesh of my cheek, just below my left eye, and eyes are slimy, spherical things that watch you wherever you go, and I drift into my closet where I cower in a heap of jackets that no longer fit me. I hear rustling in my bedroom, my mattress being shredded, the lamp hurled to the floor. I try to disown my poem, but it clings to me like a leech, sucks my blood. I am becoming weak. O reader, so much more clever than me, send for help. I just spent a couple of weeks in the Kootenays, a place called New Denver, which is an amazing, amazing place. And I'm from Toronto, so I don't get to see a lot of nature. But I have this nature poem in here, so I thought, being inspired by having been in New Denver, that I'd read this. It's called Haiku. There are bugs in the wilderness with antennae. To be a writer, you have to have this astute sense of perception, and you have to really two more. And before I do that, actually, I want to just thank you again for being here, and thank Clint for being my host here, and thank Brian Kaufman so much for publishing this book, the second book of mine that's been published by Anvil Press. It's really exciting to be a writer living in Toronto and have a book come out from a really fine publisher in Vancouver. So, and thanks to the Pulp Fiction guys for pushing things out of the way and having us here. The Virus Cabin. We holiday at the Virus Cabin. At night, board games. Vehicles pierce the walls. A Mexican eye doctor blinks. Soon we are bereft of cabbage. The Admiral collapses in a pool of sweat. After the earthquake, we pack our things. We lick abundant tears from each other's cheeks. Spring brings summer, summer brings grief. The clouds, dark as coal, draw the blankets over baby's face. Keep talking, Bubbles whispers in my ear. The microbes make us beautiful. We climb upon one another and grunt.